Hi everyone, I'm Beatrice Tokayer from BRT Interior Design, and Parenting Special Needs magazine asked me to speak about summertime and sensory spaces. So let me get started. What I think is important to know is that your child can benefit from a sensory space, whether it's winter or summer. During the year, when your child goes to school, they have a very structured environment at school. And then they come home and it's a very different environment. Now, the same thing goes for camp. If your child's very little and they're staying at home with you, then the rule still applies. But camp is a structured environment for the most part. And then when your child comes home, it's a completely different environment. And children with special needs and sensory sensitivities, they have a hard time with transitions. So when they come home from camp where it's hot all day, they spent all day in the sun and they're tired and they're hot and they've been running around, then they come home to your house where it's air conditioned and much more quiet, then they need this transitional phase. So what does this transitional phase mean? It means a sensory activity that you can do with them, or a sensory activity that you can guide them to do that will self-regulate them and kind of transition from camp mode to home mode. And that helps our body feel better and more comfortable and be in control of their emotions and how they feel. So when you create a sensory space for your child, it's important to understand what your child needs and regulate themselves until they've calmed down. So when you create a sensory space in your home, you can have different stations. You can have one for sensory fidgets and some sensory activities like Play-Doh, kinetic sand. You can also have another area for the swing, and you can hook up different swings depending on what your child needs. So you can have a compression swing, you can have a sensory swing pod, disc swings, and you can have your active area where you can have your monkey bars and other climbing equipment. The point is that when your child comes home from camp, overstimulated, tired, and hungry, that you don't go from one extreme to the other, where camp was super overstimulating, where your house is the exact opposite. So you have to transition them with this sensory period. You'll also realize that your child actually feels better doing that, and they'll thank you. They'll be better behaved later on. And then you'll think about how you actually do that as an adult, where you transition yourself without even thinking about it from a very overstimulated situation to a completely different situation by adapting different habits. The point is to give our children the right tools so that they can learn to self-regulate and to understand what that feels like. And then they'll ask you for it in the future. And then when they're older, they'll just know to do it themselves. If we can teach our children to do this when they're this young, we're teaching them to communicate their needs and tell us how they feel. And they'll be better equipped later on in life. Thank you so much for this chance to share, and I hope you enjoyed it.